So, as my partner mentioned, family systems theory really looks at the family holistically and kind of the relationships in it. And part of that is the family projection process. So, family projection process is a self-reinforcing process by which parents transmit emotional fears and potentially chronic problems to their children. So, here we have kind of 3 points where the parent fears there's something wrong, and because of that fear, the parent interprets normal behavior as being abnormal, and then the parent will treat the child as if they have that condition or that issue. So, as an example, let's say we have a mother with ADD who naturally fears that her children will have ADD, and so she focuses on her son, and she interprets typical high energy toddler behavior as being attention deficit. And so let's say she begins to treat him as if he does indeed have ADD, even though he doesn't. And so he develops ADD symptoms and has real issues with attention skills over the next several years and perhaps even the rest of his life. Assuming that he did not indeed have ADD to start with, that would be an example of the family projection process. So that's an interesting phenomenon that happens between parents and their children. Another thing that usually emerges a little later in a child's life is emotional cutoff. So emotional cutoff is the reduction or refusal to address emotions with a specific individual, and it has a root in unresolved attachment issues. So the most extreme examples of this are disinheritance, either in, from the part of the child saying, no, I don't want anything to do with you, I'm disinheriting myself. Less extreme and more common examples involve the child purposely moving far away from the family of origin so that they don't see their parents as much, or if they do live closer, visiting infrequently and not really have meaningful emotional conversation when they're there just to avoid all of those dormant feelings. Some specific behaviors that are evidence of unresolved attachment issues would be a child giving deference to parental judgment whenever they're with their parents, kind of no matter what the situation is. The child feeling a need to resolve conflicts between parents, and getting angry and feeling that the parent doesn't understand or approve of their lifestyle or decisions. So those are all really common symptoms of emotional cutoff. And individuals practicing emotional cutoff with their family of origin tend to destabilize current family relationships because they have a lot of unfulfilled needs. There are a lot of feelings going on, and so they naturally need more emotional support. And when they're getting all of that emotional support from their wife and perhaps from older children, it can place a lot of stress on the family. So that is something that tends to happen. Finally, we have the multi-generational transmission process. The multi-generational view of personality traits and patterns of behavior. So there are lots of patterns and traits that, we tend to see are transmitted generationally. Anxiety, alcoholism and drug problems, educational attainment, and whether or not an individual resolves conflicts or practices emotional cutoff are all examples of traits and behaviors that research shows follow generationally, meaning in some way parents transmit to their children. So we're going to explore how that happens with an example. So let's say that we have a family right here, and they go and they have 2 children, a boy and a girl. The boy has an easy disposition and the girl has a difficult disposition. Because of that, the daughter receives more one-on-one attention to correct her behavioral problems, but she develops an insecure attachment. She just feels like she can't do anything right, and so it's not a secure attachment even though she gets more attention. The first child, although he doesn't receive the same amount of attention, he develops a secure attachment just because he does. He's easy that way. Okay, so both of these children get married, we see, and go on to have children. So let's explore what happens with this generation here. So this first child is more likely to give less attention to his children because that was his life. That's his point of reference for how parents interact with their children. But the attention he does give is very high quality, and as a result, 2 of his children develop a secure attachment and 1 does not. That makes sense. The second child gives more attention to her children, but she tends to exhibit more family projection to her children, and so they tend to inherit her problems. And she also occasionally uses emotional cutoff when she doesn't know what to do. So while both of these kids right here say they have a good relationship with her, the attachment is not as secure. So they start to have behavior problems when they're teenagers because they have all those feelings associated with that insecure attachment. So right here is the example of a multi-generational transmission process where we went through and we looked at how each generation affects the next and how all those things play in with each other. And that sums up family systems theory. Thank you so much for watching.